Aloha! Welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we've got a fun interview for you with my good friend, Joey Bradley, who is a recording engineer and kind of a tech guy who also has a past of playing music at quite a high level and now lives a quiet life up in Kohala here on the Big Island. So he came over, brought some ukes, and we just sat down and talked story and tried them out. It's a really kind of a rough recording, but the conversation was great. I think the content is interesting. If you like what you hear on the podcast, I encourage you to subscribe, first of all, but also go check out liveukulele.com, see some of my free resources over there, and also if you want to financially support what I'm doing here, and also get yourself some really great lessons and tutorial content, I invite you to check out my ebooks and my video courses. Those can be found on the store page. Those products contain the very best of my teaching and are sort of my proudest achievement as an ukulele instructor, so I invite you to check them out, see what you think. There are enough subjects at this point to be something for almost everybody, still working to fill in the gaps here and there, but for the most part, I think there are, even if you don't know you need it, there is something for most every ukulele player. So with that said, let's get into the interview with Joey Bradley. Unfortunately, I lost some of the recording because my computer decided to go to sleep on me halfway through, but the majority of it is still there, and I think that what is there is lovely. Hopefully you enjoy it as much as we did. So we're here in the Live Ukulele studio with Joey Bradley from Kohala, just up the road. Joey is a fabulous ukulele player and songwriter and singer who is venturing, or is working now, more so in the studio realm. Nominated for a Hoku, correct? Yeah.
Red Water Trio jazz album.
Yes.
It's called Synesthesia.
Wow. Well, that's very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
We'll be crossing our fingers for you.
We'll see.
Yeah. That's cool, though, just to be in that realm.
Yeah, it is.
Nice. Well, Joey came armed with a host of ukuleles that he wanted to pass around and try out, and also had a list of questions for me. So,
well, just things that I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah. No, maybe we do a question and then play an instrument.
Okay.
Does that sound
Yeah,
exciting?
that's fine.
Okay. So, he's going to hand me the iPhone. How I got into ukulele and moved to Hawaii.
You want to do that?
We can start with that one.
Okay.
That's a good start.
It's a Hawaiian talk story.
It is absolutely a Hawaiian style talk story.
Yeah.
I grew up in California in a place called Placerville. Nice in the springtime.
Wow.
That's how I describe it. It's nice in the springtime. Otherwise, you're burning down. But when I was 12, my dad got a job offer to come work construction out in Kona for Goodfellow Brothers. And so my folks were feeling like that would be a good thing to expose my brother and I to, is, more culture, because Placerville is a very, very monotonous, homogenized, pasteurized, all of the above kind of place. And so they wanted to bring us out here to just show us more of the world. And so we moved out just temporarily to try it. It was going to be a year, and then a year became 2 years, and then 3 years. And in the first maybe 6 months, my mom saw an article in the newspaper for ukulele lessons at Hale Halavai in Kona, which is like the Parks and Rec Center, with Kumu Roselle Pili Aloha, who I haven't seen or heard from in a decade at least. If you're out there, Kumu Roselle, I hope you're well. But she gave, it was actually my dad took the first class with me. And so we went down once a week and sat around a table and learned to play, Pearly Shells and Yellow Bird and all of the simple beginner ukulele songs, just real local style, just follow along and strum. And I just really took to it and took another class from Kuma Roselle and, you know, got as much as I could and I ended up going to the Kahumoku Ohana workshop down in Kohala. That was kind of the first catapult moment where it was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. People do this for a living. This is what I want to do.
Was that with James?
James came in many years later, but he did go to that workshop.
Mm-hmm.
First couple of years, it was kind of just getting started and small. It was Herbota Jr. and Sonny Lim, Kyoki, Uncle Dennis Kamakahi. That was the main core lineup for a number of years. And yeah, that was the start. It was just that ad in the newspaper. And my mom was like, oh, you know, we're new here. You should meet people and get out and do something. I was like, sure, why not? I'm a 12-year-old kid. It's like,
Cool.
sounds great.
Great.
Yeah. So that's it. And then the rest is kind of history, as it
It's
were.
history.
And here we are.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. How did you get into ukulele? You have a much different background.
Yeah. So, I've been playing music for a lot of years, kind of mostly as a singer before I ever got into instruments. But I had been playing and singing in bands, dance bands, R&B bands, traditional R&B bands, not modern R&B. And I had a girlfriend, and I forgot her birthday for 2 weeks.
Oh boy.
And I was on the mainland. Where was I? Oh, I was traveling doing this thing that I've done for work every once in a while. And forgot her birthday. All of a sudden remembered it. Was in Atlanta, Georgia. Saw a music store, ran into the music store. First thing I saw on the wall was an ukulele, and so I bought it, sent it to her. And she was totally pissed at me and didn't accept it and gave it back to me.
Oh, no.
And that's how I started playing. Eventually, she started playing too, but that's how the ukulele came into my life. And then I started playing around with it. And then we split up. And then a year later, she sent me a ticket to come to Hawaii for her family reunion. So it was kind of weird because we hadn't even spoken. But I did it, came to Hawaii and got hooked totally on being in Hawaii. And when I went back to the mainland, decided I was going to come to Hawaii and learn about ukulele and culture around ukulele. That's how I got started.
So how long ago was that? How long have you been here?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah. So, been through a few different iterations in terms of playing ukulele and my relationship to Hawaiian music. And now I'm engineering stuff and not playing out as much as I used to, but still loving it and loving the instrument. The instrument made me much more musical than I had ever been. I played guitar for years and years and years, so I come from a guitar background, and I think you can kind of hear it in my playing. But the ukulele is just, it's just an amazing instrument. And now I have all these varieties of the sound. It's really wonderful.
So this is something I'm always fascinated by, is you have the fascination with the ukulele. What is it specifically about this instrument as opposed to all the other colors in the world of the different instruments that people play? What about the ukulele makes it so intriguing to you?
Well, one is the tuning. 4 strings presents you with a couple of different things. If it's reentrant tuning, then it presents you with chords that are simple that are also complex at the same time because they don't have the grounding of the bottom strings. If it's not reentrant, it's the same thing. It's just then you do have some grounding. It's different than a guitar, which the bottom strings are always telling you, in most instances, what the chords are. With the ukulele, you have so many varieties of the same fingering that you can call a chord. You can play jazzy things with one finger on a fret, you know, and I love that. So it just sounds different, you know. And for me, less strings is better.
For all of us, I think.
Less strings is better. You know, it's not that you can't find everything that you need. It's just that it's going to sound different than it would on a 6-string instrument or a 7-string instrument, you know. Mm-hmm. I really like that. It just put my head in a different place about songs. I think it's an amazing accompaniment instrument.
You don't feel super naked, though? Like, I pick up a guitar, and it's like, well, this is such a no-brainer compared to the ukulele for just, like, singing and strumming.
Oh, I think it's the other way around.
Really?
Yeah, the ukulele was instantly made me feel more musical.
That's so interesting.
Because the background is not the straight kind of thing where there's a D chord with a D on the bottom and a D chord on an ukulele, you have an A on the bottom. You have the fifth on the bottom.
So you're having to almost hear it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. With a C, you've got, with a straight C, you've got a G hanging out on the bottom, which is the fourth? Or is that the fifth?
It'd be the fifth.
You've got the fifth on the bottom. And you've got a couple of C's there. And it just makes for chords that are simple but still complex.
Because that's something you'd have to intentionally reach for if you were a guitarist or a piano player. You'd have to like look for those voicings and inversions.
Yeah, I just feel like the voicings they don't end up being as exotic as the ukulele.
I never thought about that. It's just like, it's just a C. Put your finger there.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a C as the high pitch, and then an E, which is the third, and then you got another C, which is the low note of that chord, except
surprise,
you've got a G, which is the fifth on the bottom. So it makes for a lovely chord.
I'm just trying to imagine how you'd play that on a piano, and I mean, I guess it would be. I mean, I'm not a piano player, but it seems like that would be weird. You'd have to like look for that.
Yeah. It just led me into a different way of hearing music.
That's great.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I had the one that I kind of ended up with wasn't that great. And then I got a G-string concert. G-string, Derek Shimizu used to be on Oahu, and then he was here. And
then
then
he moved to Vegas?
Now he's in Las Vegas, yeah. So I had a concert of his and then a tenor of his, which I loved for years and years. I don't have those anymore. My taste got more expensive, and I started looking for other instruments. I guess I've had somewhere between 55 and 60 in the 12 years that I've been playing ukulele.
How many do you have at one time?
I may be at the upper end now. I have 10.
Okay. That's reasonable.
Yeah. It's too many, but it's reasonably too many.
Nice.
There's just so many colors, you know.
So now we have, what year is this soprano Kamaka?
Could be late 60s, early 70s Kamaka soprano.
Lovely. Like, it looks like a vintage Kamaka.
Yeah.
The neck's all sideways. I love it. It almost sounded like I knew how to play high G there for one brief second.
I love that little uke.
Well, it's so interesting because I've always gravitated away from the soprano.
Yeah.
Because the tenor has that kind of more tight, articulate sound. But over the years, as I've ran across vintage sopranos, they always have a little more of that, it seems like, than something that's newer. The newer ones kind of tends to be a little bit jangly and small sounding.
I don't know where I am in terms of...
So that's the pineapple.
That's the pineapple.
That's such an interesting difference.
Yeah. Well, it's young. You know, I found that...
well, and it has the different strings, too.
Yeah, I don't know what those are, and I don't know what these are. I took these strings off of this ukulele, and it changed the personality absolutely, and I put them right back on, and I don't know what they are. And
They look like the Worth Browns.
They do look like that, but I tried a set of Worth Browns on this, and they didn't do what these strings do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah, I know, it's scary. And I bought it from Brian in Kainaliu, and I tried to get him to ask the owner, because it was consignment, what they were, and she had no idea. So this is its strings. They're on it, and they're not coming off. So that's really a new instrument. It was in California in a music store. It was new old stock from 2015.
Oh, wow.
Just still sitting on their website. I looked all over for a pineapple, and they were selling it at the price that it was in 2015. And now they're like $400 more.
Wow.
New ones. And it's the wood, the koa is beautiful. And
I thought like any Kamako was just like bought and paid for 5 years ago at this point.
I don't know why that thing was on the website, but so it's young. It has a young sound to me. I mean, to me, this is louder at this point.
That's a lot more complex.
Yeah, but it sounds really great. It's huskier sounding, but it's not projecting as much yet.
So these have the same scale lengths?
Yeah, the same scale length. The other thing that I've done with anything that I have that's older is I've put UPTs on them. Because I'm not really worried about collecting, you know. I mean, I have the tuners for it, but
it's meant to
the
be
UPTs
played.
are so, you know, they're so forgiving and they just work so well. You know, give that thing 10 years and it'll be being played, because it hadn't been being played. It'd just been sitting on a wall.
And so it was built in 2015, but you bought it when?
6 months ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's
6 months ago, brand new.
Okay, so it's like very soggy still, kind of.
Yeah.
Got a ways to go. Do a quick back-to-back. So this is back to this normal soprano. Yeah, I don't know. It feels to me like the strings are a lot of the sound. Just because it has the fluorocarbon brightness of like really light fluorocarbons.
The worst that I put on there to try to replace those,
They look really thin.
they were heavier.
Yeah.
They were a lot heavier, and they just were thuddier, and that thing sings a lot better with these strings that have been on and off at least once now, for sure.
Do you know if you got the lightest brown set?
Yeah, I did. I tried to buy the very lightest brown set.
Wow, then these must be significantly lighter.
I know they are.
I mean, that A string looks tiny.
I called Strings by Mail and asked him about it. You know?
I mean, you could probably tune that up to an E. Beautiful.
I know. For me, it's really satisfying sounding
Yeah.
instrument. And it's got Hawaii in it.
Mm-hmm.
Sopranos, I mean, to me, they just carry the. Let's see. I can play this. I saw you walking down by the shore, tuberose in your hair and so much more. Well, my mind went wild with what could be in store, 'cause I'm gonna take you to the moon. I bought you flowers and a bottle of wine. We can spend all my money, baby, I'll be fine. When you come to me, darling, gonna blow your mind, 'cause I'm gonna take you to the moon. You can laugh at me, baby, and think I'm strange. I'm gonna take you far away to a better place and a better day.
That's awesome. What song is that?
That's my song.
That's your song.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it goes on from there. It's got a kind of a weird ending.
No, that's great. Sounds like a classic.
I tried to write a classic 30s Hawaiian mainland kind of thing from that period.
No, I think you nailed it. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing carries a lot for me.
It's
I know.
super loud sitting over here. You know what I got to try when I was in Oahu at Andrews was the tides.
Oh yeah.
The ones made in Tahoe. One of those was built so light and it was so loud. I couldn't believe it. It's like hands down the loudest instrument I've ever played. It's just like holding a bomb.
Yeah. They have a couple of them on the website now, but the one was when you were over there, a year ago?
No, this was just last
Oh,
month.
just last time? They had a couple of them, early ones, that just blew my mind, at least hearing them online. And now they've got 3 or 4 of them now. Their ukuleles are just ridiculously expensive now.
Yeah.
They're crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And those guys have very unusual builds.
Well, there's a lot of reclaimed wood, and I don't think they don't do much in the way of finish. It's like mostly
Yeah.
just open grain
And
kind
they
of stuff.
soften all the edges, you know.
With a huge bevel, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking inside. I think they fill where there's the normal kerfing. They actually fill it with a piece of wood that's like significant, and then they just route. Like the corner's gone. There's no more corner. You've
Right.
moved into that edge
It's
piece of
really.
wood.
I mean, I just see so many interesting ukuleles on their website. Have you ever seen Andrew's Kinnard?
Is that the one with the
The
cathedral bracing thing?
I don't know about that, but it's got a very large bottom bout,
I don't think so.
and it's just this monstrous sounding ukulele. It's crazy.
No, there was a Kinnard, I think it had like a metal truss system on the inside. Some sort of, I think he called it the cathedral bracing or something
Oh, really?
like that. but it was
I don't
like
know
from
about
the
that.
neck block onto the back and sides. It looked like it was.
People are doing so many crazy things. There's some ukulele on their website now that has a fiberglass layering for the top along with wood.
Really?
Yeah, and it can be made super super thin and no bracing because of the is it fiberglass? I think it's fiberglass that so it doesn't need any bracing because the top will just hold up.
Wow, that seems like kind of a gamble, but
Well, I think they figured out, how to layer it
hmm.
to get sound of it and then sound out of it and still have integrity.
That's great.
Yeah.
Next question.
You want to look at the list? You choose. It doesn't have to be any of those either. You can.
Well, I'm not qualified to talk to a lot of them, but the one that sticks out is playing in Hawaii as a non-native musician, which is an interesting situation.
Well, when I came here, wasn't too long after I moved here that I got a gig in a cafe, and it was regular Friday nights, I think, and so I was kind of getting over pretty well, and I was playing like what I thought was my version of what I knew about Hawaiian music at that time, but mixed with kind of what I had come out of, which was like R&B, and so people kind of liked hearing that kind of R&B stuff on an ukulele, and then slowly I learned a few Hawaiian songs, and the pronunciation, was killing me, but I got them together kind of, and got, I guess, close enough. But as I was here a longer amount of time, I realized how the connection with the music and Hawaii culturally was a lot deeper than I even thought. And so I started thinking maybe I wasn't respecting it enough by knowing enough about it. So I remember playing a gig with a friend of mine, a guitar player who's really this great guitar player, and we played a couple of parties, and we played with other Hawaiian musicians on the bill, John Keave and a couple other people, and then maybe 6 months or a year later, after hearing more Hawaiian music, I realized the versions of the things that I was doing were embarrassing. They were embarrassing because they didn't have enough. They didn't have the depth that they needed to have in order to really sing them. So really, I've kind of backed off on playing Hawaiian music. I feel better now about it, but the connection between the Aina and the culture and the instruments is it needs to be respected, and then you really need to understand the depth of it all in order to come from someplace else and play it.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can come from the outside and exist in the music. I mean, I am from the outside. But I do think there's a certain set of experiences and knowledge that you pick up along the way that really helps go a long ways towards capturing more of the sound of Hawaiian music, but also, like you said, the respect of the culture and stuff. And I mean, when I was growing up and going to the workshop and, learning to play, I never felt comfortable singing Hawaiian music. It's still a little weird, but over the years, I think what's added to my comfort is spending time in IHM and doing 3 semesters of hardcore Hawaiian language. That really helped because I knew that if anything, I could be the Haole guy who was pronouncing it correctly. If anything, that was like something to be aware of. It's like, okay, I know that it's Aina instead of Aina, right? It's like the little differences in what you say. And that's just an example that comes to mind. Malahini and Malihini. Right, that's a common one. One of the guys in IHM always sang Malahini, just like because that's what he had heard in his head as a kid growing up. And we had an instructor who was like, "No, it's Malihini. Malihini. That's the word that you're going for." So just having that comfort, I think, has really lent itself to feeling like, me being a little more comfortable in this space. But beyond that, I'm not sure. I think having Hawaiian style experiences really helps get a window into the music. And that's why a lot of people that I meet and I teach at workshops and stuff, they ask, like, how do I play Hawaiian music? Like, you got to like have Hawaii in you and kind of have some of those experiences and, help put the pig in the emu and
that's what we were talking about, the garden, growing things, now that I've been in the place where I live now and I've been growing things for a couple of years, watching
huge.
things come out of the ground in the place where you live and knowing it was volcanic soil and knowing how to deal with that. All the experiences lead you into a better understanding. I'm in no way ever going to try to present myself as knowing anything about living in Hawaii. But one of the things for me is I love mongrelizing things, so playing R&B with Hawaiian chords on an ukulele is something I feel good about. I just make sure that if I'm going to try to present a Hawaiian song that I have some understanding of where it came from and what it's about. And
I think that's the other thing too, is having heard the stories and heard it presented. I just like paying attention when you hear the song, like whoever plays the song. A lot of times, if they have some sort of a lineage, they'll have a story about the song and they'll share the story, and you get to kind of pick up those things. Which is why certain songs are like so much more common, I think, for people to play, is because people feel better about. Yeah, people feel better about playing those songs because the stories are more well known. Whereas more obscure stuff, it's like I don't know what it's about. Can't really share it accurately.
Well, it's interesting because in any cultural grouping, like sometimes I'm not sure how much the locals know about, the cultural connection in a larger sense. There are people that study that completely and want to bring it in to the culture, but there are locals who don't have the same kind of depth of feeling. So where do you sit in all that,
Right. Well, and it's kind of weird too, because
if I'm playing Ulu Palakua and I've studied it really as much as I could and can sing it and can do some falsetto and that kind of thing, where does that all fit? How does it fit when I want to play it in a cafe for people?
It's weird. It's a super weird dynamic.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's the globalization of everything and the exposure that the internet has given Hawaiian music. There's also a balance of like how much of it is like what you're allowed to play and how much of it is something that you've just picked up along the way because it's available now.
Right. Well, and I love from what I've read, things started a certain way on the mainland, and in like the 1915 expo in San Francisco, and so there's all that history. But then what happened was the music took mainland influences. The mainland influences came back to Hawaii. The Hawaii grabbed the mainland influences. Like there was big band music that, was jazz. The influence was jazz
Right.
big band, and then there was Hawaiian big band, and then there was, then there was Looney Tunes with
Steel guitar.
What was the guitar player's name who played a lot of those Looney Tunes things?
Oh, was there a specific player
Oh
who
yeah,
played
a
that?
famous player, and I can't remember his name right now, but he played like. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So
was
there's
on
all
the
this
song.
crossover, and almost every musical tradition has super crossover, and so I think it behooves you to think about that and find your place in it.
For sure.
I play Van Morrison songs on a ukulele, and I play Green Rose Hula, and I'm sure I that I that I stew them up. I make them into a stew of what I am and what I know about Hawaiian culture and how I feel about the song, and so.
I find that over the years, I've gotten more comfortable playing Hawaiian music because I've realized that it's more about the feel than it is about being a like precise. You're not being like John Schofield or whatever
Right.
as you're playing Hawaiian music. It's like that's not the sound, and so relaxing into just more of a like this is the feel. This is the things I've experienced here. These are the people I've
So
interacted
when
with.
you want to articulate something that you're playing, who do you go to for an influence about, quote unquote, how it should be done?
Like Hawaiian style, like the dictionary of players to look to. I mean, Uncle Edward Kapon has been a huge influence in the past 5, 6, 7 years that I've been going to Uncle George's workshop. Just seeing him in action up close and hearing his stories and experiencing his joy for music. And that has been, it's really allowed me a window into understanding and being able to play kind of in that style. And same with like Sonny Lim, just seeing these little different windows, it kind of all informs. I mean, my like original ukulele inspiration is Herbo Jr. So, but
That's
a lot
jazzy.
It's jazzy, but a lot of his influences are Uncle Led and Uncle Sonny, and a lot of the old school slack key players is where he borrowed a lot of his style from.
Gabby?
I mean, Gabby in the sense that that's like the sound. Not so much that I strive to play like Gabby or would ever think that I could pull it off, but just to know that like that is such an authentic, rootsy vibe that he was able to present. I actually, did you know this? That the Gabby Pahinui Hawaiian Style Band Volume 1 was recorded at Keawaiki?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they boated in a bunch of equipment from L.A. Ken Calais came and engineered it.
Wow.
And yeah, I found a random video on YouTube. There was like a slideshow of all these pictures from inside the lava houses there, and then I made the Ken Calais connection. It was like, oh wow, Fleetwood Mac, all this stuff. No one talks about the Gabby Pahinui Hawaiian
Wow.
band album.
I mean, my first exposure to Gabby was Ry Cooter.
Okay, he was on the album.
Yeah. And what Gabby plays on Ry Cooter's, it's what is it? Yellow Roses. I gave to you, gave to me. Yellow roses, you told me that they mean that we're all through.
Did Gabby sing on that album?
No, he plays.
Okay.
He doesn't sing. Yeah, but the playing is amazing.
Yeah. It's all just, absorbing the feel, I think. Just knowing, and to know that is like, when people think of Hawaiian music, they think of Gabby. Like that's the pinnacle of kind of like
Well,
the
they also
sound.
think of Don Ho.
That's true. I actually won $100 the other day because my girlfriend bet me that her dad would not know who Don Ho was. It's like, I bet you $100.
Wow.
So I owe her dinner.
So I played a gig in Waikoloa with a Hawaiian bass player and myself, and he told me that they only play Tiny Bubbles for $100.
For $100. That's
Yeah.
the price.
Yeah. If you want them to play Tiny Bubbles, it costs you $100. It's funny though. I love Tiny Bubbles as a song. You know.
Yeah, Don Ho was another kind of classic. I mean, it was like the other side of the spectrum, right? For that era, it was like it was Gabby, and then there was Don Ho. It was
Right.
like as far apart as you could possibly have them.
Probably not though, because there's a connection there. Who is Don Ho's guitar player?
Oh, that's
Benny
Benny
Chong. Yeah.
right.
Benny Chong, who's just a jazz ukulele monster.
I love kind of the archaeology part of putting together all these stories of Hawaiian music and who influenced who played with who. There's a gal who lives right down the road used to sing backup for Don Ho.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, music is just, that's what's so, I just feel so lucky that, somehow I ended up with that as a path.
Yeah.
Because it's endlessly rich, and it just reflects everything. You can find out anything about your life and life through, I think musicians are the best people too. Crazy, and I've definitely been a crazy musician.
Yeah.
I went through the whole reggae period.
Right.
Opening up for Jimmy Cliff and Peter Tosh and Steel Pulse, and an opening act for all those people, and had dreads down to my butt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there's just threads. The threads can go anywhere into anything. I mean, now there's Hawaiian music.
Right.
And I play a lot of reggae on the ukulele. Yeah.
How do you hear things and know they'd be a good match for the instrument? Or do you feel like everything is fine on the instrument?
Well, I'm not a jazz player, so mostly if I'm in jazz, I'm singing it, not playing on the instrument. But I love some of the jazzy chords that just fall from the ukulele. I mean, there are kinds of music that I don't play. Kinds of music that I don't play. But no, I feel like the instrument can handle anything.
Certainly some things sit easier than others.
What are you thinking?
Well, I find that there's some stuff that you fight just because of register a lot of times, or range. You just don't have the room to execute it.
That's why I got more into baritone, because at least you have two things there and more keys that are available to you. If you play a tenor and you're playing in C tuning, you can play in G pretty easily. You're not going to play in the flatted keys very easily, like B flat and things like that. But then on a baritone, you're starting off in G, so you have another way of playing C, and you have E available to you more easily than you do on a regular tuning, regular ukulele tuning. So those two instruments for me give me a larger range of keys to address.
So you'll play, if you're singing something that's like, oh, I need to sing in this key, you'll reach for a certain tuning over another.
Yeah. And not a certain tuning, just for me it's just baritone D, G, B, E versus C tuning on a soprano or tenor.
Mm-hmm. But it's the tuning that facilitates chord shapes that are more complementary to where you're trying to get to.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't play baritone for a long time until I found one of those ponos. And I loved that. Actually, I had a couple Martins that I liked a lot.
Oh boy.
Sound-wise, we're
Fanner.
not going to be able to demonstrate that very well, but it's a fanner from South Africa.
Is it actually an ukulele or is it like a tenor guitar?
No, it's an ukulele. It's a 20-inch scale baritone.
It's like the best reggae instrument ever.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a steel string fanner, 20-inch scale baritone with two stacked P90 pickups and tone and volume, and then a pickup switch. It's let's see, this it's a spruce top and mahogany back and sides. This hasn't been played very much recently because they're making me a new one because this one had some problems when it came. But I really like it.
Are these custom made?
Yeah, you can get anything from them. You should go to their website. It's amazing. They're really good, and they have about 5, maybe 6 or 7 different models, and they make tenor sizes and baritone sizes, and like an octave mandolin thing, and
Do they do guitars too, or?
I just read on their website that he's about to move into guitars. But they do amazing finishes. The strings are, electric strings, steel strings.
The action seems a little higher than I'd expect.
Yeah.
Tension.
Well, one of the reasons that they're making me a new one is because that neck didn't come out so well. And it is a floating bridge, so I can work on ukuleles a little bit because I worked in music stores for 7 years. But they're just going to build me a new one, and this one's going back. But it's really fun plugged in. Really fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
But it screams. Semi-hollow body, though, so.
It's got a block down the middle.
Does it?
No.
You
You can keep it pretty much under control. They make all that stuff themselves.
The stop piece?
Yeah.
That looks great.
They also wind their own pickups.
Wow. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, go to their website.
Fanner.
It's fascinating, and just the range of what they will do and can do is really
You said
really
they're
cool.
based in Africa?
South Africa.
And so that's like, how does this instrument make its way down there? It's another...
South Africa?
Yeah, like what is the connection? I'd be curious to know.
A guy named Brian Fanner who has, it looks like to me, has computer discipline, he has metalworking discipline, he has woodworking discipline, and he's a musician too, and he's just, it's something. You just have to go there. It's just amazing. It's really fun.
Yeah, no, it seems like it.
Yeah. And, it's a beautiful instrument. It's a little Gumby-ish, the body shape. But, they do this amazing job.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I had a really bad experience with solid body or steel string electric ukuleles. I got one of the early run Kamoas that were having huge quality control issues out of China. And it would not stay in tune. It the neck was a snake. It just moved all over the place, and it was frustrating to try and deal with. So, like the first time I played a Risa, one of the Risa Les Pauls, it's like, oh my gosh, it stays in tune. It sounds great. Yeah. There is a future here. There's possibilities. But
yeah, this is a really amazingly made instrument, and I can't wait for the next one. They'll let you do so many different things in terms of finish and how the pickups are set up, but maybe we should get to this thing.
this is the
Kinnard.
The big daddy ukulele out of everything here, I think. It's like listening to a pillow or something.
Yeah, it has an amazing voice.
It's like, how could you really bang on it? It's such a delicate sound.
You can get, I mean, it'll get loud. It's interesting. I've never really been in front of this instrument.
How's it sound out there?
It sounds really good. I think that the D string is dead. But in your hands and with that side port, you don't hear that. It sounds really full.
The sound port, I feel like it's a little deceptive to what the audience is hearing. Because you hear a nice version of what it is and you get used to it. And then, like, for instance, you put a mic in front of it. Like, that's not my instrument. It doesn't sound like that. Why does it sound so
Well,
bad?
that's an interesting thing because a bunch of the Kinnards that they've done on the ukulele site have not sounded good demoed to me. And I'm wondering maybe that's part of it, that they sound really good in your hands because you got all this sound coming at you. And I mean, they sound really good, but you don't, when I play that thing, it sounds really fat to me. And then out front of it, it's sounding really different. I mean, you can hear it, it's the kind of lyricalness that's in it, but you don't hear the weight of it as much as you do when you're playing it.
No, yeah, I mean, the sound is like, it sounds like a pillow. It just kind of envelops you in this soft.
I know, it's one of those instruments where you can just play a chord and listen to it. And
Beautiful.
yeah,
I like it very much.
it's light and it's
different sound out front. It's a little more like grabby, and that doesn't have the pillowy low.
Yeah,
end.
well, the body, I mean, you pick it up and immediately you feel the body. You feel it vibrate against you, and it just, it's not going to deliver that out front.
It's a new kind of concert. A concert for one person where you reach around and you play the instrument in their lap so they can feel it vibrate.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the first time I've ever been out front of it, and it's nothing like playing it at all.
I have not spent much time with one of these. That's high G. So who makes this guy?
This guy in California, he's a banjo maker who just recently started making banjo-leles. So that's D. It's D with, but it's down. It's a D tuning. I mean, it's baritone tuning, but with a high D. I can't play it, but I love the sound of it. I really like it. It's an African instrument, Yeah.
I know Bela Fleck did his whole project down there.
Yeah.
No, I love the sound. It's just, I've never seen one with the covered back.
Well, the reason I got it pretty cheap because he made that as the prototype. Usually they are either open back or if they're closed back, the back can come off. But this is in place.
No, it's cool. It's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
So many people strum on these things. I think you kind of lose some of the flavor when
By
you're,
strumming
when
it?
you're banging on it with the strum.
Well, you know, the plectrum banjo is made for strumming, and it's that, you know, real strummy stuff.
Yeah, it just seems like the attack gets a little mushy once everything starts ringing at once.
Well, this is another instrument for me. I like this voice, but it came tuned as a tenor. It came, yeah. One of the things I learned about, you know, a banjo, even a regular banjo or this banjo ukulele, is that you find a piece of foam and you put it in there.
Really?
Everybody does it.
Huh.
It's just such a weird thing that it's not built into the instrument, but nobody just leaves it without being damped like that.
Otherwise, it just kind of rings, or
I guess it rings too much. But it's just funny that somehow the instrument wouldn't evolve so that that was built into it. I can't do it in this key. I'm at the water with my baby. She thinks I'm lazy, but I'm just a crazy guy. We're walking in the sand, but she don't understand that I just want to touch the sky. I saw a Buddhist monk. I saw a Buddhist monk. So damn drunk, offered me my ride on my elephant's trunk. Walking with my baby. She thinks I'm crazy, but I'm just a lazy guy. I never played that on this.
it sounds appropriate.
Yeah, that's another song of mine. I'm a real space traveler, don't know what I come here for. I'm a real space traveler, I ain't coming back no more. I tell you no lie, I won't even try that picnic turnip soup. Just hand me a beer and have no fear. I'm out here relaxing on the stoop. Well, now the summer's gone, won't take long. The big bullfrog gonna blow his horn. Alabaster baby singing what I say. Ray Charles sing it too.
Have you recorded that?
I've never recorded that.
Are you planning
It's called
on
Ray
doing,
Charles.
Are you planning on doing a solo album?
I don't know. You know, I would like to do a recording of things like that. That's totally, you know, ukulele, mainland, you know, Sweet Sue, that kind of thing. But I don't know whether I will or not.
Well, you have 2 songs for it, I think.
I have more than that, but those 2 songs are definitely right in there.
Right.
Yeah. I just love the color of this, the color that it brings. I have a little Martin soprano that's so different than these kamakas. It's just barky and real, bite your head off, you know, but a great sound. Yeah. What about writing for you?
Like, how do I write?
Do you write? You're writing these days?
I haven't been writing a whole lot. Kind of after the last album is kind of just, I don't know, I got it all out of my system, and then
Your last album is...
If Only. Did you ever hear that?
I don't know if I've heard If
I'll
Only.
give
What's
you-
the one before that called?
Point A?
Yeah. I don't have If Only.
Okay, I'll give you a copy.
Okay, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I like it still. I think it was a good effort and a good collection of songs, a good vibe that I had to get out of my system. But ever since then, I haven't.
Where'd you do it?
Right here.
Uh-huh. Cool.
It's I mean,
You got to come to the studio.
I'd love to.
Come over and record a couple things.
Yeah, it'd be great. Love to see what you're up to and
Well, I can show you.
experience. I've spent very little time in real studios.
See if I can find this.
But I have been writing a little bit. I'm working on a couple songs that I think are good, above the cut kind of songs, which is inspiring, but it just, they need extra attention that, is not coming out of the pipe as easily as I would like it to. I've got like the majority of them, it's the last 20%.
In terms of their writing?
In terms of arranging it and the lyrics and how it's all going to go together, like what the finished product is going to look like.
Well, come on over and I'll indulge you.
Great.
Engineer and let's see.
Wow. Is that concrete floors?
The floor is concrete and it's got some rugs on it and
How do you find the foam bass traps work?
the foam.
I've heard that the foam doesn't
You just have to use it for the frequencies that you want.
is more specific than the fiberglass or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
You get, different thicknesses and different densities of it. But
So
it works well.
You've got the panels in the front.
I have panels in the front, but over the listening position, there's a hanging baffle with rock wool in it. The corners are rock wool. Behind, we built those corners down there.
Right.
This is a big kind of art piece that's also a diffuser.
Sweet.
Lush.
Yeah.
Lush, when he built that.
Sweet.
We've got absorbing curtains. In the back, which you can't see in this video, is a couple of different things that suck up sound, made with the rock wool stuff. So that's it.
That's great. Looks like a nice space to
Yeah,
hang
it
out in.
is. It's a nice space. We did it really quickly, just on a whim, and just went at it and put it together.
I mean, you don't need much if you got the gear and just got to.
Yeah, well, I had the gear. We had the gear, and we had a space, and Virgil's a builder, so got it to happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
As far as writing goes, I think it's just I'm not dedicated to the craft in the way where I sit down and do it regularly, so I'm not getting the crap out of my system just on a day to day. So I think it takes longer for something that I think is any good to fall out on accident.
How do you practice these days?
I don't. Gigging.
Just gig.
Just gig. I mean, I rarely sit down and practice anything I should be practicing. It's just I've reached a point where I feel like I can express myself mostly play what I would like to be able to play, and the rest that just comes down the line is just experience and time and feel.
And you're teaching too?
Teaching through the website. It's all just the video lessons and ebooks is my main teaching right now.
I've been teaching some, which I find is completely educational for me.
I think the teacher learns just as much as the student.
I mean, I for years and years and years rejected any kind of theory. Just thought, I'm not being boxed in by this. now that I'm teaching people some theory, I've stitched things together so much better than, I still, my approach is really very, very fundamental in terms of chords and what I use. But teaching how it works together and just teaching people how the simple keys that they play in and how what the chords are and how they function together and what they're made of has just been educational for me completely.
So coming from a place that maybe didn't have a whole lot of theory, what do you think is an appropriate amount of theory for most people? Because I know a lot of like Western background folks who are coming to the ukulele later in life, they've learned everything in a very specific way their entire life, like math and physics and how to be a real estate agent or how to be a lawyer. It's like very precise stuff. And then you throw something like music at them, like, where are the rules? And they grab onto theory when it maybe doesn't tell them everything they need to know.
So in terms of ukulele and the simple chords that you're going to use, I think that they need to know what the 1, the 4, and the 5 are and why they're the 1, the 4, and the 5, which means they have to learn the C scale, say, to start with, and the notes in the C scale and how they're divided up in order to make do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So that's where I start people.
Great.
And so we name the notes, we name the strings, and then I take them down the path of understanding how the notes are named on their fretboards.
So like one string at a time, the chromatic scale.
Yeah, chromatic scale, or finding a major scale starting in different places. And then, I might teach them this land is your land and tell them, and they need to tell me what's the 1, the 4, and the 5 based on learning the C scale. So that's kind of for beginners, because the goal is not only just learn the chords and the shapes, of course, it's to learn how it all fits together and why. And I know it's not easy, and I know that there's a resistance to it. I have people who can play really well who just do not want to understand how it fits together. And I was like that for a long time. I didn't really care about that stuff because I just thought it was going to interrupt my understanding of music. And now I realize that that's not true.
Yeah.
So I just try to give people a little at a time, but I want them to learn what's on their fretboard.
It always comes back and learn your fretboard.
Yeah. But saying all that, I still don't know how to play scales. I've never practiced scales except for the, very simple scales that I teach my students. I don't know other scales.
You just run by ear, or
yeah, and I run into stumbling blocks all the time and trying to play single notes against things that do not progress in a normal way. And I see that you have that under your fingers in a lot of ways that, it's amazing. And I really like. I like, when you play lead stuff or when you play melodically with chordal stuff, I love it.
Well, I think that my experience with theory was a little heavy-handed at first. Like I jumped in and like, theory, that's another thing that I can learn and be learning as I'm practicing, and it'll help me be a better player. And it took me a lot of years to realize that the theory does not make you a better player. It helps you understand certain things and how it fits together, but it doesn't do much for the music and the feel that it takes to create beautiful music.
It's true for sure.
I had a little bit of unlearning to do, I think, coming from that hyper engaged, like, well, let's figure it out kind of a mindset. And I think that's...
So how about Hawaiian music? And it's going to be based a lot on the 1, the 4, the 5, the 7, and, well, there's lots of 6 mixed in, which really makes it sound. That's one of its exoticness, is the 7th chords and the 6th chords. But when you run across something that, is using the more exotic four-note chords, what's your thinking about getting around on it? Is it just learning the song and what's there, or you improvise?
As far as like improvising over a C6 or
Yeah.
C major 7, I just play like I would play over a C.
Yeah. There's not that many key changes within Hawaiian songs, right?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and you
Yeah.
can, anytime there is that 4-note chord, it's because somebody added it just to make it more fancy. The core structure of the song is still just a triad.
Right.
So it's not like that fancy chord is like creating the vibe. It's just like fairy dust on top. And so when I'm improvising, I'm just thinking like, oh, C, F, G7.
You can run into things that don't work though, right?
Yeah, but it's one of those things where that gets you so far along the path of where you need to go that by the time there's something that doesn't work, you can just like avoid it because you know that like in this one exception, that might not work.
Let's see, what am I looking for here? So that's playing the normal Hawaiian turnaround as a chromatic, using a chromatic chord in the same hand position. So what do you do when you come to that flatted? Well, it's the C D. It's the D flat C sharp.
I probably wouldn't think, oh, hey, it's D flat. That's probably not how I'd approach it. I'd play over the D7 and then know that I'm just moving down, and I'd find a line that works where I can chromatically connect it down.
And that it's not going to last too long.
And then, yeah, I can,
Nobody stops there.
bail out on the C.
Right.
Yeah. No, I've gotten more and more analog about it over the years, just like
What you hear?
what I hear and just try and follow that.
Yeah.
And just like, I know what I want it to sound like. I just need to figure out how to execute it. And I'm sure I say that it's more analog, but it's only because I have the experience to know where the sounds are on the fretboard.
So I haven't heard your group, but let's say you're playing the 2-5-1. Do you have the leeway to step outside of that and put something in that's kind of non-traditional?
I mean, I play the chromatic thing sometimes on top of a
2-5-1.
2-5-1. Yeah. It also depends. We have been playing with a bass player, though, an upright bass player.
Well, that helps.
Larry Miller. He used to run the projection. He used to be the projection guy at the Honoka'a People's Theater.
Oh, yeah.
But he plays lovely upright bass, and he's been jumping in with us and lending that. And that's been fun because then it's just like a playground. Nobody has to hold anything down because Larry's down there. So that's been a treat. But as far as just like changing things, there's not as much to change because it's 3 different instruments.
What's the repertoire?
It's just classic Hawaiian songs, hula songs, and I mean, I play like Little Street in Singapore, a couple of swingy hapa kinds of things, and then some.
You playing any jazz standards?
Instrumental, no jazz standards. It's like it's very, very much traditional Hawaiian music, slack key kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah,
Are you singing?
Fun. I am singing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When can you be seen?
We don't have anything coming up. I don't think. Well, we're playing at a wedding this weekend, but that's a private function. I'd love to invite you, but I just
no, it's fine.
Well, we're gonna be out in Washington. I don't honestly know the next time we'll be out here.
Yeah,
I'll
catch you eventually.
Yeah, Kyoki plays at the Hilo Farmers Market every week. Larry and I went out one day to go play with him, but that was it's just like the whole day, right?
Yeah,
You go to join them at 10 or noon, and by the time you drive out there and get back, it's just like the whole day is shot. But hopefully we'll get hooked up at Hamakua Harvest again. And
Cool.
yeah, but good fun.
Yeah.
Any last questions on your magic list? Or
I think we really hit the list.
there's
pretty
a lot
well.
of interesting content in there.
I think we really hit it all. We didn't really talk about live sound and that whole kind of technical area, but
We'll do that at your studio.
okay, cool. I really want you to come over and record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be super down.
Yeah.
Let's figure
We'll
out a
plan
time.
it.
I'll try and work on a couple songs, and we could demo them out and see. It'd be a good kick in the pants to try and get them all the way together and
Yeah.
see how far along could push it.
Okay, let's do it.
Great. Thanks so much, Joey.
This has been my pleasure, absolutely, and been looking forward to just sitting down and talking to you for a while.
Yeah, it's been too long. I'm glad that finally able to pull it off. I know I've been just kind of hiding out, probably too much so, but
Oh, the other thing too, I just when we were talking about credentials, I did want to mention that I co-produced Kohala-based recording.
the Star That
Star
Met
That Met the Tide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing that you were present for the recording sessions and stuff. And
Yeah.
helped make that.
That was really fun. That was with Charles.
It came out nice.
Charles Brotman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he mixed it? Did you mix it?
Who did mix it? Charles did mix that.
Hmm.
I co-produced with it.
Yeah.
With Kelly. She's now
the
Kelly.
artist formerly known as Kyle.
Yeah, right. That's funny.
Yeah. No, it's a lovely album and a great look at the potential of the instrument, I thought. The studio visit we were speaking of did come to pass. Went up to Joey's place and spent a number of hours there. We tracked one of my new originals, something I've been working on. I don't know when or if I will release it, but we had a really great time. It's a lovely space just to hang out in, and Joey's got some nice gear, and it's always fun to just be able to play and have somebody else be in charge of the recording thing and not have to run between the playing chair and back to the computer and pressing the record button and setting up the mics and doing all that. It's a real joy to just be able to express the music and have somebody else capture it for you and with you. So that was a lovely time. If you want to hear the engineering that Joey has been working on, check out Bandcamp and look up Redwater Trio, Synesthesia, or Ka'ahele, Star That Met the Tide. Those are two of his more recent projects. And like he was talking about, the Anna B one is on its way. Keep an eye out for that. You can follow Joey on Instagram at JSBSound, if you're an Instagram user. And if you want to get in touch with Joey for anything, any kind of projects or anything like that, I'll put his email in the podcast description. Thanks for tuning in. The Live Ukulele podcast is published on the first and third Saturdays of every month. I'll catch you in the next episode. Next episode, we're going to be unveiling my new ukulele, talking about it, and also covering kind of ukulele flavors and why you would want a certain ukulele over another one, and talk about that old concept of best in air quotes. So I'll see you then. Please subscribe, and I'll catch you on the other side. Aloha.